Hello and welcome to this lesson on how does Bitcoin differ to conventional fiat currency. So I've got this little image of a dollar note or $5 note and a image of the Bitcoin logo, but essentially it could be the $50 note, it could be another fiat currency altogether, it could be the Great British Pound, it could be something else. In essence, it could also be another cryptocurrency because essentially a lot of the fundamentals are very similar or the same to Bitcoin. So first of all, let's talk about the features of fiat currency. I think one of the biggest ones is that it is issued by the government. So the government determines its value. The government determines when they're going to issue more. Issuing more generally leads to deflation in the short term. So also value determined by central authority of government. They're essentially the same thing in this scenario. Central authority could be something other than the government, usually is not. It's not very divisible, and what I mean by that is if we have this $5, so if I have this in my wallet, it is a $5 note. If, for example, I were to exchange it maybe for $1 or some coins, I can use smaller denominations, but it has a limitation, whereas you'll see in a moment Bitcoin is a lot more divisible and it's not determined by the government. So I could transfer half a Bitcoin, 0.0001 of Bitcoin, 0.004037 of a Bitcoin. So it is a lot more flexible. So let's continue with the features of fiat currencies. It's easy to transact, and one of the reasons for this is it's been around for a very long time. It's had a lot of time for it to be refined. A lot of vendors and just people and organizations in general accept it and they trust it. So for that reason, it is heavily used. Another thing is it's not scarce. So more can be issued. More can be issued by the central authority. Obviously, in this case, it is the government. Obviously, that does lead to other economic factors, but it is not scarce. They can just issue more if they need to. As I mentioned, the value is determined by a central authority. The security is good, but can and is counterfeited. So reasonable security, but could be a lot better. As mentioned, it is widely accepted as a medium for exchange, whether you want to go and get a burger or a pizza with it, whether you want to buy a house with it, whether you want to buy some toilet roll with it, whatever it is, fiat currency will for the most part be accepted by pretty much anyone. And it can easily be transformed or transacted into another fiat currency or something else very easily. Another thing is it can be used in real life. What I mean by that is, if we go back to this $5 note, imagine if I had this in my pocket. That's in real life. That does not get affected, or at least on the short term, by, let's say, if the internet is down, for example, which you'll see in a moment. Bitcoin is dependent on the internet. If, let's say, I want to transact some money to a friend, I can just give them the physical note. Obviously, most of the fiat currency in the world is digital, so there still needs to be some network infrastructure to use the vast majority of it, but there are use cases and it can easily be used in real life. So that's the overall concept and features that make up Bitcoin. But fiat currencies, fiat currencies. What about Bitcoin? So the first thing is it's decentralized and distributed and controlled by a network of users, and not a central authority. I've got separate lessons covering decentralized and distributed and centralized systems, the differences between them, so feel free to check that one out. It is also highly divisible. It can actually be devised, one Bitcoin can be devised into 0.00000001 of a Bitcoin. So that's the lowest denomination, so 8 decimal points. So as you can see, it is a lot more versatile. You'd have to exchange 50 cents or $5 or $10 or £2 if it's in the UK or whatever fiat currency you're using. So you do have a lot of versatility when it comes to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. It's also very secure because a single authority is not confirming the validity of transactions. It is a network of users and using a majority vote from computers, like hundreds and even thousands of computers all around the world, to actually hack into all of those computers. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it'll be very, 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 very difficult to do all of that at the same time. So it is very, very secure. Another feature is it is easy to transact. From the point of view that you can easily get an account with an exchange, easily buy coins, easily send and receive them, the only one downside, or one of the downsides in its current climate, is not many vendors accept Bitcoin. This is changing, and it is the number of users and the number of vendors that are accepting it is growing, but that's something to bear in mind. So though it's easy to transact, there are certain frictions still there simply because it is not widely adopted yet. So it doesn't have wide acceptance as of yet, because Bitcoin's only been around for 9 years, came out in the early concepts of it was around in 2007, 2008, so 9-10 years, but really it's only been gaining steam over the last few years, whereas fiat currencies, essentially what's became them, has been around for thousands of years, so it's had a bit more time to mature. The value is not determined by a single authority, it is determined by the community, not using a voting system or anything like that, and not a single authority. It's using essentially mining. I'll cover that in a separate video, and essentially speculation as well. Very similar to stocks in that respect. Free to use, so you don't have intermediaries like Visa and MasterCard. With the other currencies, you generally, for the vast majority of transactions, need some sort of intermediary which take transaction fees. With Bitcoin, you can eliminate that. The other thing is it requires an internet connection. Internet is widely available now, speeds are getting better, it is cheaper. Eventually, I'm positive it will become a human right and it'll just be free across the world regardless of where you are, and you'll have amazing signal. But as of yet, that hasn't happened, so it's worth mentioning. It does require an internet connection. No in real life presence as of yet. That might change, even though it doesn't look like it. Bitcoin might have more of a real presence in the physical world. So that's it for how Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general differ to conventional fiat currencies. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out. If there were any topics or any features that you're not quite sure about, feel free to go over the video again as usual. I would like to see you in my next lesson, and have a good day.